Hello, welcome to this edition of a underwater vlog. This time around, I have a bunch of random topics that don't really have a lot of coherence to them, but it's a bunch of things that I have not been able to get off my mind. Or when you start a conversation and then you don't have it finished, so it kind of weighs on your mind that I just had something that I wanted to get to the point with it, but I didn't get to the point. It feels like that when certain ideas come up and they are not um, explored to their conclusion. So the first one is pretty benign. It's why is there such a ridiculous height difference of avatars in VR? Well, this is more of like a VRChat culture thing. This isn't big picture perspective, big brain analysis time here. It's just why are male avatars so big and female avatars so small? Like the height differences are very exaggerated, and obviously a lot of things are cartoony, and there's really bizarre stuff as well. I'm just gonna say it straight: the sexual characteristics of each are heavily emphasized. Where like guys have muscles and abs, and kind of actually there aren't that many that are like a legit strong man type. There's this kind of like cool fit type where it's like all muscly and stuff, but it's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger swole so often. At least I don't see that. But of course, the female avatars, it's highly sexualized as well, with very accentuated curves, you could say. But the proportions, just overall, guys are really big. At least male avatars are very large. That is a preference where women like to feel a sense of safety and security, and you don't feel that from a short guy. That's why short men will never be respected in the same way that tall men are, because there's something that's very visceral. There's something that's very natural in terms of reactions to feel safe around a guy that has physical strength, and you are not going to feel secure around a guy that does not have physical strength, that is small in stature. Even if he's all buff and everything, it's kind of laughable. It's an old tired issue that women like tall men. If you're 6 foot tall, then hey, that's sexy. If you're anything other than that, then go yourself, you manlet. So the interesting thing about VRChat is that you can use any avatar. You can like adjust avatars and customize them in so many different ways. So your appearance in VR is completely up to your choice. It is a matter of personal choice, and to a degree, a matter of how well you can find the resources, or how like to find avatars, or to make your own avatar. So there's a bit of resourcefulness that goes into it as well. But ultimately, it is your choice how you portray yourself in VR. So why do we see this preference for people to portray themselves in certain ways? Well, it is an outward expression that is chosen. Your appearance is chosen. I choose a normal looking person because I'm having normal conversations. I'm not like doing a role play of being some like king or something with a crown or whatever the heck. That's pretty benign in terms of like the body horror that you can get into with VR insanity. Every visual thing that someone has is a choice. You're not born one way or another with VR. You are a user using avatars to represent yourself in a way. Um, so you could go into a bit of psychology of what is the mindset of a person who would choose to portray themselves in this way or in that way. What does that outward choice reflect about their inward mentality? And are there reliable patterns that are there? Should we make some stereotypes to recognize patterns of behavior? When you recognize patterns of behavior, in order to create a formulation of making sense of that pattern, what does this pattern mean? How should we react to it? Then absolutely, you're making a stereotype and you're making a prescription of actions based on those stereotypes. That's called noticing. It's more than just noticing, because it's not just the verbal side of it, of having a talk about why why the heck are all these people uh so tall? Why are all these guys so tall and have six-pack abs? Well, that's because women or female presenting characters. It's so bizarre, the whole sexual dynamics thing as well, because that gets really ambiguous and that depends on how you portray yourself. And also, because I interact with a signing community, there's a lot of mutes that I interact with where gender is completely ambiguous when you're just using a fictional appearance and sign language. A big giveaway of if someone is male or female is their voice. Where if, like, some people use soundboards and stuff, but you can't really communicate that well with soundboards. I mean, there's also text to speech, but then, I mean, what is that rule? There's some bootleg rule where if it's a female avatar and they're not using their voice, then just assume it's a guy. Where, I mean, this goes back to the old rules of the internet. There are no girls on the internet; it's all guys. So just assume that. Regardless, because it's a matter of make believe and the kind of interactions that people are doing in VRChat, gender is really ambiguous, and there's also like no consequences for snapping your fingers and changing into a different avi to explore sexuality or whatever like that. I'm not going to go into those dynamics, but the important thing from this conversation is that it is a choice for how you present yourself at any point in time. There has to be some kind of motivation as to why someone would prefer one appearance over another. The very simple example that I gave before is men trying to appear sexy, and one part of sexiness is abs and another part of it is height. There's not like sexy midgets. That's not a thing. Like, maybe that's some weird like set of porno keywords that you could find that in some obscure site, but no, like in general the trend there, which is like, having sexy muscly guys with six-pack abs, that is something that you can that you will see a pattern of these e-boys trying to portray themselves like that. I'm using the male example because the female example gets difficult to talk about, because there's a lot of different characteristics that get weird, from accentuated facial characteristics, having bigger eyes and having softer features to look younger, but not childish. That's its own bizarre thing that I'm not going to get into because it's disgusting, frankly. Just from a biological perspective, neotenous features are something that's attractive because that is connected to fertility. But even talking about youth and fertility and females being attractive because of these qualities is just a really difficult hot saucepan to handle, and you're going to get burned. So, regardless, what I wanted to get at with this discussion is how you portray yourself is some kind of choice in VR. So there has to be some kind of motivation getting people to decide on what avatar they use or what modifications they make to an avatar. There's something that motivates that. This is a conscious choice, and that will reflect the person's own mentality. Like, there's a Japanese friend that I have, where she's self-conscious about her bust size, and she had an avatar that she made, her own avatar, where she made it have a larger bust than she has in real life. Real simple, benign example on a topic that's like an obvious thing that someone would change, but uh, it's she had a choice. She made a conscious choice. I want to feel more voluptuous, essentially. Wow, I realized that trying to like mentally translate stuff from Japanese into English, there are some ideas that, because onanarashi does not really have an English equivalent. It is feminine, but when it's like literally feminine, but when saying motto onanarashi mitai desu, I want to look more feminine, but in the context that we were talking about stuff, because she had like an avatar with a large chest, I would use the word voluptuous in the translation for that situation. But regardless, that's like that's a relatively innocent example of a relatively lewd topic, but gets at the overall psychological point that I wanted to express about having full conscious choice over how you appear to others.